Everyone, good afternoon, Jamaicans, and to
Good
everyone
afternoon.
morning, good night, whatever time of day it is, I greet you. All right, welcome to our town hall. I am Chase Neal, the Vice President for Cornwall County and the Deputy General Secretary. All right, we will be presenting to you on the UIC's vision for the Constitution of Jamaica. Not just a constitutional reform as is put forward by the government of Jamaica, but a total new constitution that will ensure the rights of each single individual Jamaica. No, I want you to pay attention to that, listeners. We're not talking about the common good here. We're talking about a Jamaica that ensures the rights of each and every single individual. Now, we'll be joined shortly by our chairman, president and such. But until they come here, I'd like to pick up everybody who is with us, both present here in the physical setting and joining us on the stream on the Zoom platform. I see on the Zoom platform here, certain moments. Welcome, Dr. Parito, our VP for Middlesex. Welcome, Taylor. I see Cheryl B. and Mikhail. I remember mispronouncing. Is it Michael or Mikhail?
Michael.
Lisa, welcome. Felix, thank you for joining. All right, so we will be kicking it off fully in a few. Now, I want everybody to think about what is your idea of one Jamaica? What is your idea of a better Jamaica? Because you'll be hearing today of how we will be achieving that with the UIC's governance model. And we'll be creating that Jamaica together with your input. We'll be creating that Jamaica for all of us and for all our future generations. So UIC, stronger together for now and future. All right.
Conozco todo acerca de barcos, motores, rutas, en fin, esa era mi especialidad.
Is somebody saying something? All right, I thought somebody was sharing something in our chat room. All right, I see the Mr. President signing in on Zoom. Although you're here with us, welcome on the Zoom platform, Mr. President. All right, so Mr. Chair, are you ready to take over? All right, let me go on with the welcomes. The chairman is ready. All right, our family watching on YouTube and also Facebook, I welcome you here. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see you on this platform, but you have been invaluable to the growth of the movement and spreading the news of the UIC. Even when we're not covered by the mainstream media, you have been instrumental in following us and sharing, and we welcome you and we appreciate what you have been doing so that Jamaicans can know about this third political party that is here to ensure our rights to our life, to our liberty, and our property, to ensure personal responsibility, and to create a Jamaica where we may live, earn, and retire in dignity. All right, so thank you for your work and welcome for joining. If you can get more persons to come in on the live, let us share it so that more persons can benefit from this. All right, I turn over now to Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very pleasure having you here with us this evening. Now, we have been on a mission educate our fellow Jamaicans as to constitutional hijacking that is currently taking place. And most of us by now are aware that constantly we are not free. And simply because our constitution does not guarantee our rights. And you say, oh, we have a citizen field of charter of rights. Yes, but it also part of government, gives the power to the various leaders to restrict, if not revoke, those rights. So if you're given a right and it's taken back, and it's not truly given. Now, in 1962, we were handed a document by the colonial masters that purported to be our constitution that would usher in our freedom. We now know that that is untrue. That document didn't freedom. And what that was written by our colonial masters, the document was treated as suspicious. Here we are again in 28 years where
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I be heard now?
Yes.
All right. So the Prime Minister has a constitutional reform committee that has been followed. This group is about tainted by what we would refer to as special special interest. Right? So that panel is created by special interest. It goes further. That panel that was brought together, it was a panel before a term of reference was produced. And you know that the term of reference would be the guidance document that would tell that committee how to deliberate on what to deliberate on. So they were brought together before even the guidance was available. That document was not circulated widely for the public feedback, and it was not approved by Parliament. So unilaterally, the current government is driving with constitutional reform. What does that say? It says that it will be skewed in whatever direction they are putting. It will not represent the views of the process, the wider process of Jamaica. It will not represent interest and concern of the common man. Now, the USC has a model that does that. If we will educate you on that later on, with a presentation by our president or state president, we'll share that with you. But as it is now, know that whenever they decide to hold that referendum on constitutional reform, your choice will now be to assume the constitution they have written and given us, just like it did in 1962, or we will get that and remain with the constitution that they gave us in 1962, both of which are fraudulent and does not represent the views of the majority of the people. So we, the people, will need to stand up and our voices heard that we require civil republic, one that protects our rights to life, liberty, and property, equal. That we are made sovereign in our own country. So, without further ado, let we checked with our esteemed colleague, Dr. D.B. Brown Johnson, to see if he can be able to make the first presentation to the audience. Dr. Brown Johnson, are you ready?
Yes, sir, Chair. Good evening. Good evening, Uniters. Good evening, everyone. I just need to be able to share my screen.
Before I get into your presentation, Dr. Brown Johnson, 1 second, please. The audience below on my end. I'll tell you what more.
We're not hearing you so well and clear, Chair. I hear you certain parts of what you're saying.
Dr. Brown, how is that? Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Yes, yes,
You can
President.
hear me clearly. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not hearing.
Not
And,
hearing Sir Chairman so well. The audio is
Okay.
very low.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you know what I'm going to ask you to come and join me over here. You're okay with that, right? Set that up and come over here so we can hear you clearly. So let's share this this space here. So let's do another check again before we go. Mr. Chairman, say something again.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for being with us this evening. It's an absolute pleasure.
How is that, Madam VP? Is that
A lot
good?
better and clear.
A lot better.
A lot
All
better.
right, so let's try to do that. Well, I don't know. I haven't changed anything since we set it up. I don't know why the order doesn't go to this. Hold on a second, VP.
So most
Just
of
a
what you
second.
said before, Chair, was kind of lost
clear.
on us. Yeah, it wasn't clear, so
Okay.
you heard only
Hold on
pieces
one
of it.
second, just 1 second. Just
Sure.
1 second. Say something again, Madam VP.
Yes,
Speak again. All right.
hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, so we're adjusting our audio. All right, go ahead, Mr. Chairman. They didn't hear much of what you said earlier on. To summarize what you said.
All right, no problem. Let me go again. So, in summary, we will be called upon in the time to come to vote, to go to the polls, to indicate our choice for the Constitution being prepared for us, not by us, but for us by the existing government. And in so making that choice, we either choose the Constitution written and given to us by our neo-colonialist government, or end up holding on to the colonialist Constitution that was given to us in 1962. So we will be between the devil and the deep blue sea. So the choice will be accept their fake republic or reject it and remain under the Westminster system. Now, there is a third choice, but they are not making that available to us, which is a true republic. And again, it would be a system of government that protects the right of every individual equally, where every individual is sovereign and your right to life, liberty, and property is protected equally. Now, again, let's try to hear from Dr. Brown Johnson, VP Dr. Brown Johnson, and this mother. VP Brown Johnson.
Yes, sir, I'm hearing you clear. Thank you. You're handing over to me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Good evening, Uniters. Welcome, welcome. I'm gonna just share my screen, and I'm Mr. Chair and our panelists, including President and VP Chase. I don't want to go too long, maybe about 10 minutes. So just give me a time check if I'm going off a little bit too long, please. All right, so I'm sharing my screen now. You can see my screen. Knock, knock. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, great. So speaking to the idea of being empowered to vote, to change the process, to change the trajectory of history, I've been tasked to look at what I label post-colonial stress disorder. Do we have it? Can we heal from it? Now, when we're looking at where we're coming from, we have been beneficiaries or partakers of or impacted by the colonial system. And the colonial system is what we would have been a part of prior to our so-called independence. And so defining colonialism, looking at control by one power over a dependent area or other people. And so I have notations on the left here that speaks to when Jamaica was governed by the Spanish and the British, and Jamaica became a British colony from 1707 and a crown colony in 1886. So this is really entrenched in our history. From then, even until now, we're still experiencing historical, cultural, social, behavioral, emotional, psychological aspects of this history. And so it's important to understand where we're coming from to really be able to change the trajectory of where we're going. And such control was often done by establishing colonies and generally with the aim of economic dominance. So if you think about where we are now, are we being economically dominated? That's something to think about in 2023. So throughout all of those experiences relative to colonialism and our post-colonial experience, all of those experiences were formulating, we were formulating an identity in Jamaica and the world as a Jamaican citizen. What was that supposed to look like? What was the understanding? And so these people were a part of the architecture of the Constitution that we now have. So if you notice, Marcus Garvey was there as a prominent figure as well, Alexander Bustamante, Florizel Glassfoot, Howard Cook, and there were others. And these were the architects, the people who got together and formulated what we now have as the present Constitution. So from as early as 1932, just speaking to what Marcus Garvey fundamentally was thinking, he made the first definitive call for self-governance and shared his vision for what he called the new Jamaica. In the debut editorial of his publication of the same name, he explained the dream for Jamaica. We want the spirit of national comradeship. Let us unite to accomplish this, and Jamaica shall indeed become a better place for all of us. And so when we think about this as a fundamental ideology that was a part of the architecture of the Constitution, are we there? Have we become the new Jamaican that Marcus Garvey was defining? And so I use these images to speak to, this is actually today or yesterday's paper, but I think it's in today's Gleaner and the Observer. So when you look at these images, I know it will evoke a certain type of emotion and understanding. When you look at our levels of crime, when you look at what happens with businesses who are trying to fulfill their mandates in the marketplace, when you look at the big bag of dollars with the JLP, PNP / on it, when you look at the public, you notice the posture of the public under the gun of crime, and the businesses or the businessmen who own, these are citizens. And then when you move to my left, which maybe you're right, we see teaching jobs drama, 272 vacancies advertised in just 23 high schools as principals go into panic. So obviously we have not yet fully achieved this ideology of the new Jamaica and the new Jamaican. We're still in a state of discombobulation and oppression, which is really where we need to move away from. So what is this post-colonial disorder? I propose that we're stuck We're stuck in a reality of ongoing trauma, which makes us all numb and dumbed down. Those of us who have had the opportunity to leave, get a break from the traumatic state, but the residual is always with us, which includes the constant yearning to return, to resolve, to heal, to help. This makes us easy to be exploited, to be sold an idea that is not really real, to be imbued with false hope of a better Jamaica. For 80 years and more than half of some of our lives, we have been sold this idea of empowerment or getting better or growth, but the growth has not really happened to where it needs to be. And it's resident within all of us in terms of the anatomy of the traumatic effects of this colonial, post-colonial history that is entrenched in our systems and the way that we operate and deal with each other on a daily basis. So I invite you to look at this anatomy of trauma. It's personal, which means our families are impacted. We are in fact impacted. It's spiritual, which means how you think about a paradigm and exercise your own sense of independence and authority may be filtered through this process, which either causes restraint or freedom. It's political. I referred to that before, 80 plus years of systems that have not yet fully empowered us to be this new Jamaican. It's vocational, which speaks to professional. It's in the professional workplace, una like it because, and why this person is doing what to you from a standpoint of house slave, field slave ideology. And then it becomes generational. So 80 years of history, of experience, of people living these experiences, your mother, your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and so forth. It becomes a type of generational trauma, which affects how we make decisions today, how we interact with each other today, how we interact with systems today. Then this anatomy and history will continue to define us unless we stop the cycle. And I propose as well that it is now what I define in my own sphere or field, a pathology. A pathology speaks to, it's now in the genes. So you don't have to do nothing to really see examples of this. You look around you, you see it there, it's practically genetic, this way of being, this way of operating, because it's an imprint, it's an imprinting over time and history that defines how we interact behaviorally, socially, emotionally, psychologically, and all the alleys. So, I'm repeating, and history will continue to define us. This trauma, and I refer to the image. This speaks to an individualized experience of trauma, the physical injury or emotional insult. I wanted to refer to the slide before. This here speaks to emotional insult, the way that it's dealt with, the oppression, sense of hopelessness and listlessness that comes with that. The idea that you really can't do nothing or you don't know what to do, you just keep moving and doing what makes sense. The idea that one set of people can get an increase in their salaries while another set of people, their salary issue, which are our teachers, is not resolved. And so that's emotional insult. You don't regard me, you don't regard what I do enough to have a certain type of conversation to resolve these concerns. Physical injury links to the violence. And so while this is individualized in terms of the imagery and how one can be affected individually by trauma, it's also collective. Body trauma, how we deal with each other, the violence, emotional storage, the manifested pain, which speaks to our history of violence. And violence doesn't only mean somebody shooting you. There's violence in word and action as well. violence in how we deal with each other. You know, you're not so sensitive, you don't really care in terms of what your posture is, how you think about somebody and a process. That is also violent, how we deal with each other, but it's just covert violence, not overt violence. And so this leads to the information of the processes, the people, the body, restricted movement. You feel like you really can't go nowhere, you can't move, you can't evolve, you can't change, you can't make decisive action to improve. And that leads to impaired function, which leads to impaired decision-making. Fixed beliefs. If you're Baptist, you can't talk to the Catholic. If you're Seventh-day, you can't talk to the Jehovah Witness. If you're PNP, you can't talk to JLP or DUJP. This is a part of how this trauma affects us. So each person at a time, that is, you change how you address things in your sphere of influence. I have their DNR. I use this term a lot, and I use it with my people. DNR means do not respond or do not resuscitate. So a process that has been infiltrating our lives for the past 80 years is not quite easy to just not respond. Do not resuscitate means you don't give it life. You don't allow it to continue just abusing you and traumatize you and re-traumatize you and affect your children and your family, this type of thing. This is another understanding of how trauma creates an imprint of injury and insult. The brain receives the information, the body translates it, and it affects how you move in the world. So PTSD is a whole body tragedy, an integral human event of enormous proportions with massive repercussions. I believe we continue to face these repercussions today, daily, locally, and internationally, in terms of even Jamaicans in the diaspora, how we respond to each other, how we behave, how we navigate these systems, how we look back on what Jamaica is for you and how is that represented. So can we heal from it? Can we resolve? Can we move forward? And I propose we review truthfully to reconcile fact from fiction and then act. A part of the process of what the UIC has been doing is to educate. A lot of the lives that our president does is about informing you relative to our history, our systems, our understanding of what is really happening. So you have information to review truthfully from the trajectory of where you are sitting, from your own life. And then you reconcile that with what you know. And if you have to look back at what you don't know or understand, you look at, oh yeah, that makes sense. No, that don't make sense. Oh, what am I experiencing? What is being said to me? What should I be doing? And then you reconcile the fact from the fiction, you throw out the nonsense and look at what is really happening. And then you act upon that. And acting means that you make an empowered decision to move forward, being fully informed. Do something different to retrain the psyche and behavior. When we're dealing with somebody who is extremely addicted in a process, and we're addicted to this process of how we're treated as people, we say to an addict, cold turkey is not usually the ideology or the goal to say, hey, just stop doing what you're doing, because sometimes that can affect a process of healing negatively. So we say, okay, why don't you, if you used to do this thing 10 times a day, start doing it 2 times a day, or cut it down to 5, or cut it down to 9, whatever is manageable for you. But you act so that the brain receives the information that, yes, something different needs to happen. We're going in a different direction here. So you do something different to retrain the psyche and the behavior. And then after you become more stable in that habit, in that idea, in that process, you rinse and repeat until the adaptation becomes the new way to function and be in the world. So as a UIC candidate, you look at what does the UIC represent? the idea of me and we working together in unity. What does that represent? Now, understanding that we may have fragmented ideologies where that's concerned, but we keep doing it and we keep moving forward with that core sense of where we're going using this vehicle. And eventually it starts to mushroom, it builds, and it becomes a true and holistic sense of empowerment. Something is different. You wake up one morning and you go, oh, I don't feel this need to do this thing again. Oh, I have information now that informs me how to act, how to vote, how to apply my right within this scenario. And so I moved to a reason to join and empower the UIC as a vehicle that can help to heal the political, social, and historical trauma. And I break it down. I help myself with the psychology brain and the behavioral science brain. When you look at the logo, people are shaking hands, which speak to working together. United means together. Independent means you're not enslaved. Congress means a legislative branch managing and changing policy. So with all of that working together through this particular vehicle, we can somehow assist in redirecting and changing the political trajectory, the social empowerment, and other aspects of our psyche, our Jamaican psyche, to become the new Jamaican. If we do it effectively, it will create the new Jamaican nation. And that means locally and by default, those who are in the diaspora. So just some facts and reasons to act. A reference to the Black Codes and the Jim Crow laws that were passed in 1865 when we were in our colonial age and stage and history, but these things were entrenched rather within a systematic process, and thus it became generational. So when we're changing behavior and you say to somebody, okay, if you have been doing this particular behavior that does not serve you for 10 years, you certainly cannot change that behavior within one day. You will need almost the same period of time or more to kind of feel like you have dominated and suppressed and subjugated that particular concern, so that you can now say, yes, I have changed it and I won't repeat it, and my children won't repeat it, and my generational children to come, my people to come that are impacted by my process will not be affected by this thing because I've brought it under subjection. So I'm speaking to it because it still affects us today by default through post-colonialism and, well, through colonialism and post-colonialism. Our right to vote from an informed state and perspective is still alive today. We are not always informed as to do. External racism has created internal schisms, so it's no longer out there. It's how we think in here, and by default, how we deal with each other. So now we fight each other instead of the oppressor or the person who is trying to subjugate our will. The Jamaican Constitution has as its core the need for a referendum, consult and voting powers exercised by the people, the majority of the electorate, to enact its change. 3 months for the bill to be perused by parliaments, that's spoken to in section 49 of the Constitution. 3 months for time to elapse before it is passed, that's 6 months. So if you fundamentally understand that this constitutional change cannot happen without the people's will being enacted to be a part of it, then you should say to yourself, what vehicle can I use to really create the change needed for the future generations, to really create the change that is needed to speak to the new Jamaican that is evolving. And that's why I have a note here. Vote UIC in the next election. It will further nullify any possible abuse of power by either of the two current parties. strategize, donate, join us. A change is possible. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there endeth my presentation for today into our post-colonial distress. I invite you to join the UIC in this process of change. Thank you for listening. Over to you, Sir Chair.
Here, here, here. Great, great. Here.
All right, thank you, VP Brown Johnson. I guess it's my time now. Now, am I being heard? All right.
Yes,
Is
sir, very
everyone
clearly.
Hearing you.
Yes, sir, we
Hearing
hear
you.
you very clearly.
All right, so I noted that VP Brown Johnson spoke of the post-colonial stress disorder. And I just wanted to make note that the aim of the colony with Jamaica was, and still is being operated like, was to make the colonizer rich while we become poorer. And we still operate that way. You see the state of our dollar now. So the colonizers, which are no longer UK, but we have the United States, Russia, and other countries, China. Oh, China. that one is big and obvious. Now, they come to Jamaica and take all our resources, whether it's mineral resources, whether it's human resources, and they take our riches and make their countries rich while we suffer. For example, St. Ann is the poorest capital, as you were. St. Ann is the poorest parish in Jamaica. You can Google it. Yet St. Ann is known for tourism and bauxite. None of that tourism dollars, none of the tourism dollars or the earnings from bauxite goes to improving the lives of the parishioners in St. Ann. All of the money from these all-inclusive resorts and villas goes to their investors overseas. The money from the bauxite, it's poisoning our people, it's poisoning our fishes, our natural life, but the earnings go overseas. Obviously, Jamaica is still a colony. We are an independent nation in name, but really the reality is we are a colony. Is any of your lives really better living in Jamaica for your lifetime? For us to really get out of this grind, we have to go overseas. Or get a little farm or a little foreign money and come back. Because living in Jamaica is depressing. Now, the colonial governance model is an example of bad governance. It's good for them. It's good for the colonizers because their pocket grow. But for us, it's abusive and it's bad. And we cannot continue to operate on the colonial model. Now, the JLP and the PNP are colonial parties. They were organized by the colonizers. Despite the history that you may have read or heard, we know that Marcus Garvey started the first political party in Jamaica and they shut him down because it was not in the interest of the crown, the colonizers, to have black people empower themselves. But then they facilitated the development of the JLP and the PNP, which are parties that continue to govern Jamaica under colonial rules, no matter how good the leader is. And we don't really know how good they are, but no matter how good a leader goes in the JLP or the PNP, the fact is the party is organized to run Jamaica like a colony. Therefore, no matter how good the individual members and ministers are of those parties, we can never get better. Anyway, bad governance, good governance, that is my theme. Now, before we look fully at what is good governance as versus what is bad governance, we need to understand what is the role of governance or what is the role of a government. Now, from the Elgin Independent School District, A government's basic functions are providing leadership, maintaining order, providing public services, providing national security, and providing economic security. Which of these do we have from our government? And when I say this, I don't necessarily mean the present political party that is in the seat, JP. I mean, for all of us who have been living on earth for at least 2 different administrations, how many of these functions do we see? Do we see effective leadership coming from our leaders? Do you get the impression that Jamaica is running orderly? Is order being maintained? Public services. Just this small detail. If you want to pass waste traveling from one point to the other, can you do so without breaking the law? And because what you do is litter, you know, it's actually littering and making the place unclean. Public service such as efficient police, do we have that? Do we have an efficient health service? Do we have efficient road network? Honestly, that our leadership over the years has been providing public services that are good for the people. National security, don't even need to talk about that one. Economic security. Can we live comfortably in Jamaica without breaking our backs or flying out? Obviously, there's no economic security. If each and every individual citizen of Jamaica cannot live comfortably, there's something wrong with the system of governance. And the idea that Jamaica is a poor country is totally false. Jamaica is a very rich country. But obviously, the resources are not being spread in such a way that each and every citizen can live a comfortable life. For us as Jamaicans to live a comfortable life, we have to leave the country where we are born to go to another country that facilitates a comfortable life for our citizens. Now, something is wrong with that. And obviously, our government is not carrying out the role of government. Just to go over what another description of the role of government, making and enforcing laws where they do that, collecting taxes where they do that a lot, providing, when we just talk about providing public goods and services, representing the interests of the people. How many persons in here are really interested in the formulation of needs? Anybody in here want needs to pass? But yet, our government is pushing needs forward. Is that in our interests? Obviously, and the opposition has nothing to say about it, so the opposition is in need with that. So is our government representing our best interests? For 2 years, our economy was shut down for the so-called to bring in that drip therapy. I don't want to see be defunded, so or no, just to point out that I am an online teacher. I teach English to Japanese students and Chinese students, also students from Taiwan. They want to learn English so they can access jobs in the international market. Japan was never shut down at all, because their constitution does not allow their government to restrict their movement, because the right to movement, according to the Japanese constitution, is an inherent right. What that means is that it's not a right, it's given. You have that right by existing, and the government recognizes and respects the right. So what the government of Japan did during the that whole pandemic, YouTube flags that word. What the government of Japan did during that time was educate the Japanese populace on the different options with which to treat this disease. The UIC policy. South Korea did the same. And during that period, the pandemic period, their economy blossomed. What did ours stand? Because we shut down the country. And when I say we must take responsibility. Well, not me personally, because I never voted, but we as a people, we were the ones who voted in the government, or there was a minority of us. So we shut down the country. And we push forward this false gene therapy, because if you do the research now, you will see more and more information coming to light that this therapy was false. It was only designed to put money in the pocket of this person who is running the World Health Organization behind the scenes, the majority contributor to the World Health Organization. No, the government took away our right to move, took away our right to our own bodies as to what we should put in our own bodies. And instead of making us aware of the different options, which they were very efficient options to treat and stop the disease, but they wanted to fill their own agenda. So obviously, we are not free. Our bodies don't belong to us, because the government said, you can take this, you can lose a job, or you can travel. So our bodies are not ours under this present colonial government. And as I said, when I say the present colonial government, I mean both parties, the structure that the Constitution provides. Our lives aren't our own because we were not allowed to work to sustain our livelihoods. Our faith was not even our own because people couldn't go to church or temple or those things. So even your religious belief was impacted. Your faith isn't your own. Your property, obviously, isn't your own. Because after you pay for your land, it's not you pay for it every year, which I don't know how that makes sense. So under the present governance structure that Jamaica follows, our interests are not protected. It was not in our interest for the country to be shut down for 2 years. It was not in our interest for our children to be staying at home and developing all sorts of sociopathic behavior, some getting depressed, suicide rose. That was not in our best interest. And there is this educational gap still existing because of that. So we cannot count on the government to carry out its job. No, the role of government, or what it should be, is encapsulated in the UIC philosophy, which says it is a natural right of every human being to be free. True or false? We should be free. Is it a right that's given to us, or is it our right just by being here? Okay. Therefore, the only moral justification and the rightful purpose of government are to protect your life, to protect your liberty and property. Good governance, therefore, is a system that protects the individual's liberty, promotes personal responsibility, and provides all citizens, not just some or the majority, but all citizens with a safe, clean, and orderly society. This is the only sure foundation for a truly great and prosperous nation. There are teachers here who are leaving to go work in Singapore. Singapore is one of the safest countries in the world. Singapore got independence around the same time as Jamaica, with less than half of our resources, less than 1/5 of the size of our country. Now, if Singapore can do so much more with less than what we have, ensure a safe, orderly, and clean society, and we still have more resources than they do, and we know the strength of the Jamaican people, creative, bad, but our education system does not facilitate us using our full faculties positively, because they just teach us how to memorize and repeat certain stuff. We don't know how to solve problems. As soon as a problem comes up, we retaliate with anger and violence. We don't know how to work with each other. We see it even now in this system that we're that we are trying to build, to put into governance so that there can be accountability in Jamaica and so that Jamaicans can progress. We find persons, and I'm not really blaming them because it's the society that we grew up in. Dr. Brown just spoke about trauma. We can't work together. So there are persons who come here, some with good intentions, some intending from the first to destroy something that threatens their way of life. They have a difference and they try to tear things down. We see in our society all around, many murders are because of people not knowing how to solve conflicts properly. A 9-year-old was killed the other day because somebody wanted to get through to the period. I mean, what is that? So our people are traumatized. Now, we desperately need a system of good governance. Now, all of these issues that we're being faced with as it relates to crime, lack of infrastructure, all of this is because our governance model, something is wrong with it. John Maxwell said famously, everything rises and falls on leadership. Now, when I speak on leadership, I'm not necessarily talking about a person only, but the structure behind the person. So we can always talk about we need to vote for UIC because Mr. Patterson is great. Yeah, sure he is. But even if Mr. Patterson was Adolf Hitler, even if he was the leader of North Korea, Kim, I don't remember Kim's full name, the UIC governance policy would restrict him traumatizing the Jamaican people and would force him, based on how the accountability is, to actually work for the best interests of the Jamaican people. So everything rises and falls on leadership. We are promoting the leadership, the governance structure of the UIC, which our founder and president, Joseph L. Patterson, created. So, just to wrap up, I'm going to be commenting on a statement I took from the internet about good governance. It says good governance means a system of governance that ensures economic efficiency, guaranteeing economic stability throughout a nation. This economic efficiency can only be brought about by the observance of transparency, accountability, and integrity in all areas of public life. Now, this situation could be brought about only when the system is founded on the basis of the rule of law. The rule of law is the foundation of the governance. And Mr. President will be speaking about how all of this will be organized. But can you imagine a Jamaica where the corrupt politician at the top thief the money and go to jail just as much as the man who thief the Governor General Akin at the roadside? Yeah, I purposely chose that one. So a little man can steal Akin and be charged for it. But Ruel Reid can steal billions and still be walking around like he did nothing at all. Now, can you imagine a Jamaica where there is no separation of persons? You know that if you commit the crime, you do the time just like anybody else. Now, that brings about assurance in the criminal mind that it's sad. Now, can you also imagine a Jamaica where you do not need to do the crime to prosper economically? Can you imagine a system where every Jamaican is a landowner, that the land that they currently say is crown land or government land, everybody owns it, so that when business is done on that land, you all reap dividends. You reap dividends just by being a Jamaican, because the land that is yours is being used by the government to do business. Economic stability, that is one of the ideas of the UIC, one of the things that we seek to promote. Can you imagine a Jamaica where there is a program we call the Jump Program, where in your community, even though the dollar might puff, you can use your service to buy the things you need, your goods, your services, so that even if you don't have the money, I have this bottle of water and you have something I need, and this becomes money so that you can subsist in Jamaica and progress and learn about financial literacy, how to make your money that you get from the money you never have, but from your talent, to make you become prosperous. We are seeking economic stability. We are seeking a lack of corruption. Corruption is a stab in the eye. This is based on the model of good governance, where we, the citizens, can rest assured that we will have a safe, even orderly society, and we can live with dignity, earn with dignity, and retire in dignity. And thank you.
Here.
Thank you, Brother Romans. Very hearty. Thank you, VP Neil, as usual, very thought-provoking presentation. But here's more to come. And to preface that more, let us also look at the system of change that needs to be made. We currently have a leader of the nation that, and let's start at the top, that represents the system of oppression that brought our ancestors here. Below that is a leader that we did not choose, but was chosen by popular decision. And a system like that cannot truly represent us at the highest level. We have at the top someone again who represents a system of brutality, exploitation, both economically and physically, both of men and women, and the leader who his colleagues got together and say, hey, this guy enjoys our support, so make him the leader. So it's not a policy-driven decision. It is not an act that promotes the most rounded of us to aspire to that level of leadership. Just the lucky one, the one who talks the loudest, or the one who is most connected. The UIC model, on the other hand, gives every one of us, firstly, a choice. Secondly, bestow on us the responsibility to examine those who put themselves forward for leadership to determine best fit. Mr. Joseph L. Patterson, our leader, is now going to explain that principle. It has a name, and I want us to remember it, because when the neo-colonialist that abides in the houses of leadership in Jamaica come to you and put forward their model or their spin on the colonial model, you must compare the two, because we are here to lay out all facets of our model so you can compare it to theirs. And you will see apples for apples, oranges for oranges, which one truly puts the power in your hand. At this time, I yield the floor to Mr. Joseph L. Patterson, esteemed leader of the United Independence Congress of Jamaica. So,
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Dr. Brown Johnson, for your excellent presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Chief Neil, for your excellent presentation. And thanks to all of you for being here today in person, and those of you who are online. It is my honor to be in your presence. I'm thankful that you've taken the time to be with us. And I want to first of all applaud the chairman and Madam Treasurer Naika for making all of this possible. I know all of it shows some money and do some things, but they were here last night and early this morning, making sure that the place was set up for all of us. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Treasurer. You know, I have so much I want to say to you, but I'm going to try to restrain myself and stay within about 2 hours or so. You know, I hope you can hear me clearly online. Our friends on YouTube. Oops, let me turn my phone. Oh, that's fine. Leave it there. That's fine. Actually, put it on phone. Let me put it on this side. Go ahead and make sure I have power. Here? Yes, on this side. That would be good. Thank you so much. Very good, very good, very good. All right. Before I get into my speech, I saw on YouTube a while ago somebody that was highlighting something very important in our talk here. The person said, if you call the ambulance, can you give them your fixed address? Let me see how many people have a fixed address in here. One person with fixed address, 2 persons, everybody else. So in this room, we have about how many people? I don't know, all the seats are filled almost, but only 2 persons have a fixed address. I don't have a fixed address. If I get sick and my wife called the ambulance, you tell them, come to Boog, at the border of Boog and Elam, and the ambulance will drive. And instead of him turning up to go towards the agricultural school, they go the other way, past Graysville Primary, and end up at Boog, up at the top of Boog Hill. Now, me are dead on the border of Boog and Elam. They don't know that then. And that is the condition of our people. Now, why is Jamaica in the 21st century? The 21st century, no, not 1960, not 1970, not 1940, but in the 21st century, many of us still do not have a fixed address. You know why? Our leaders don't care. As you get older, and some of you are older right now, if you step out of your house, how comfortable and safe is the sidewalk for you to walk on? If you have a little walker, you're pushing your walker, you now get to 75 or 80, and you push a little walker, you come out the yard, appear, and you drop over. Now, if your government cared, you would have no problem pushing your walker down the sidewalk comfortably to the store and buy what you want and go back home. But your government does not care. If police are looking for criminals, they don't know exactly, you can't tell them, sir, him write this up. Where? Where's write this up? Oh, round by Miss Mary corner shop, down by Mr. Jones. If you turn the first left-hand corner, where's that? And by the time the police come, you're dead. No, that is the kind of Jamaica we have. Now, you're going to find that the Prime Minister will be telling you that he's ready to fix it now. You're busy announcing all of the UIC plans to the Jamaican people now. They have just learned all these important things. No, because the UIC is waking up people to these realities that are fundamental rights. Good governance has been missing from Jamaica for 80 years now, and they have had all this time to fix it. But no, the PNP go and say, time come. Time come for what? Well, the GLP get for them time, and now it's our time again. If you're greater than 10 years old, you know that story already. Every time they tell you, a few time now, PNP, a few time now, JLP, a few time now, PNP, a few time now, JLP. And we have been doing this for 80 years. Now, my suggestion to you is that every day a bucket go well, and I think it's time for the bottom to drop out now. It's time for us to tell these 2 parties that your time is up. But that's not my presentation. Let me go into my presentation. All right? So my real presentation begins with, I want to just ask you a question, but don't answer it. It's a rhetorical question. You know, like in English class, rhetorical, I ask you, you don't answer. My question is, what is a constitution? What is a constitution? Well, a constitution is a set of principles and laws. It defines how we coexist as a people. It defines the kind of government we should have. It defines the values that we're willing to live by. Now, I know that some of you are from different religions. Some of you are Rastafarian, some of you are Christians, some of you are Muslims, some of you are atheists. So a constitution has to go beyond your religion because it has to embrace everybody. So it has to find a core set of principles that all of us can live by, that all of us can relate to. Now, the UIC is the first political party in the history of Jamaica that has defined those values for all of us. And I believe when you hear it, you will understand it, you'll appreciate it, you will internalize it, and you will say, yes, this is the set of values that I want my country to be built on. And those values, and why am I talking about values in a constitution? If you don't understand the purpose and values behind your constitution, you cannot make effective laws. What are the values behind the current constitution? Nobody has ever told you. I'll tell you what it is. The values behind the current constitution is that you are subservient to some white people in Europe. You know why I can tell you that? Because they made sure to put a white woman at the top of your constitution and say she is superior to you. So that's the value system. The value system that you are subservient, you are less than, you must look up to these people because they're superior to you. They're better than you. They know what is best for you. And you must worship and glorify them. And that's why when they come to this country, they roll out the red carpet. If you go in and come back, nobody will roll out the red carpet for you. Nobody say, here he. Mr. Kenneth Harper is returning to Jamaica. Here is the red carpet for him. No, Mr. Harper, they never see you. As a matter of fact, they might rough you up. I said, Harper, go over there, son. No, but man, go to the green line. No, go to the red line. Open your back. Let me see where you have. Now, when the royal people, so-called royal people come, they don't rough them. They don't ask them what's in your bag. They say, your royal highness, are you comfortable? Is your head hurting, your royal highness? Can I get you some water? Is the carpet soft enough for you, your royal highness? But you and you are not important. When you come to your country, you are treated like a bother. You're treated like you're less than. They want to search up your bag. And when you go out to take out your stuff, a man say, yo, now we carry your stuff to you, $200. You are not so important. So the value system of our constitution says, as a Jamaican, you are less than some other people. Now the UIC says, you are the most important thing in the constitution. You are sovereign. You are the center of gravity in the UIC version of the constitution. We believe that you must be treated as a sovereign individual, like you're a member of what the Bible calls a royal priesthood, a chosen people. You're distinguished. Now, that's how we want the country to treat you. That means fixed address. That means nice sidewalk. That means light posts in your country, in your community. That means community centers for your children to play in. That means digital library for you to learn even when you leave school. That means a country which is designed to please you. That means no toll road, but good road in your community that you can drive on because you already pay taxes for road. That is the kind of society and the kind of system that the UIC wants. We don't want the kind of system where you are a second-class citizen in your own country. And so our constitution begins on the premise that you are supreme. You are the center of gravity. You are the most important person. And so our value system has a simple statement. It goes like this. You have the right to do whatever you want. Listen carefully. Don't misquote me now. I'm not talking about chaos. Listen carefully. You have the right to do whatever you want with your life, with your liberty, and with your property, provided you do not use force or fraud to infringe on another man's life, on another man's liberty, or another man's property. Isn't that clear? That is the value system of the UIC. That is the value system that we want for Jamaica. That is the value system that informs the constitution that we are proposing for the Jamaican people. One which recognizes that you are a free man and woman, and that's what Garvey fought for. That's what Nani died for. That's what Paul Bogle died for. That's what Sam Sharp died for. They never died for us to play with a constitution given to us by the colonial masters. They never died for us to create something that says we are less than and they're better than we. And so we want to be Queen's Council. And we want to have them Privy Council. And we want to get visa to go to them country. They must get visa to come to our country. Because our country better than for them. We have 12 months of summer in this country. Yes, the temperature varies somewhat. We love it during Christmas time when it's nice and cool. But we have 12 months of the best temperature we could ever have around the world. We have greenery like they've never seen before. We have soil like that them beg and wish them could have. And we have a culture that if we allow that culture to rise up and demonstrate its creativity, it's a culture to love and behold and never want to give up. That's why everybody wants to come back a yard. And so we must not give up this piece of rock for them piece of soil and for them piece of snow and for them piece of coal. We must preserve and protect and defend this piece of rock, and we must get rid of those who want to stop us from enjoying it. Criminals of all orders. There are two types of criminals. There are legal criminals and there are illegal criminals. And the most dangerous of them is the legal criminals, because them get to send the police money. That's why they locked me up when I did the bond. Because the legal criminals had control of our police force. You understand me? Watch me now. We must embrace a different value system. And that value system is, my sister, that value system is your life, your liberty, and your property is just as important as the Prime Minister's. No less. So him not get percent go and bulldoze your house while taking your money to build up females. You follow me? You must have the right to your land, your life, your liberty, just like him. And so I want to take you back now to a little bit of history so you can understand where we're coming from with the UIC's model and constitution. Some of you have heard this before, so bear with me. Those of you who have never heard it, this is your first time. There are 3 points in history I want you to remember. What is it? Number one, 1838, right? Number two, 1944. Number three, 1962. I want you to remember those 3 days. In 1838, they freed the slaves. Watch me carefully. In 1838, they freed what? The slaves. Now, before you free the slaves, it means that you control them. You control them life. You can kill a slave. If you own a slave, you can just kill him. So you control him life. You control his freedom or liberty. The slave couldn't go nowhere unless you give him permission. He couldn't sit down unless you give him permission. He couldn't go bathe. He couldn't even go past something unless you give him permission. He couldn't even talk to somebody else unless you give him permission. So in life on the field, in liberty on the field, and guess what? He's even a property. In the whole, no slave owned property. The slave himself is a property. So in 1838, when they freed the slave, they lied to the slave. Because to this very day, their life on the field. Because they don't want to inject it the other day against your will. Your body on the field. Because the other day they don't want to take away your body. And the other day block on your freedom. You can't move. You can't go to church. You can't associate. Because them say you can't do it. Now watch me now. In 1838, when they freed the slaves, they did not give the slaves back their land. You know that? How many people here have land? Let me see that. If you have land, you own a piece of land. I say 2 persons, 3 persons, 4 persons. You own a piece of land. A lie here, I tell you, you don't own no land. No, own no land. Not one own. I have 36 acres and I don't own it. Because if I don't pay the rent every year, then take it from me. If I don't pay the rent for my land every year, then take it from me. They call it property tax. So property tax is a rent. If you're paying rent for something on the field, you can't pay rent for your house at my house. But yet you bought it. And you're still paying rent. So watch me now. When they freed the slaves in 1838, they never give them back the land that was stolen from their ancestors. Now, how important is land? Jamaica was once the richest country in the Caribbean. The richest, it's still rich enough, but the richest kind of hidden now. The richest country in the Caribbean. Now, how is it we were so rich? Why? The land. We grow sugar. We grow banana. We grow coffee. We grow all kinds of things. And they grew so well when we were slaves. They grew so well when we were under colonial rule. But as soon as we're not under colonial rule directly no more, suddenly sugar popped down, coffee popped down, banana popped down, everything popped down. And we are left poor and marginalized. Why? Because the powers that be said we shouldn't be rich. So they stole our land from us. Huh? And they now have regulations, Mr. Harper. Here what they do with regulations now. They write laws that make it hard for the small man to succeed as a businessman. They make it hard for you to get a bank loan. And when you get it, the price is very high. They make it hard for you to compete with big business because the laws are written. Make sure you have nice label the way them have it. Make sure it have all the facts the way them have it. You can't go sell your drops no more. How many used to buy drops? They didn't kill you without the label? So don't get me wrong, the labels are nice. But how many of us died from eating drops without label? Anybody dead from me? Seriously. Yeah, not in this room. Oh my God. So follow me. So whatever you know, them lock down Miss Mary and lock down Brother Tom and mash up Brother Joe and say, under the rich man now must run the thing. So if you don't have the money to pay for the big lawyer and the big accountant and pay for the big fee them, you can't get in a ganja. You can't grow and sell the weed even though God gave you that. You follow me? So that's how they write sneaky laws. And they tell you the laws are there to protect you. And if to protect you is to protect big business from you. And so now the contract they drop them now. Because if you eliminate small business, you eliminate small business jobs. So the more you restrict the small business, is the more you're pushing big company to offer the job. Small man have to work for them, take a bigger job. Take a bigger job. You can't start your own. If you start your own, you're going to be on the margin all the time. You can't grow. You can't get up there. And the big man can suppress you. Him can control prices. Him can say, okay, let's all of the ban up and sell it for this. Even though the cost of the small man are this. So the small man costs are this. And the big man set the price down yourself. You can't fit into that. Your business must mash up. You following me? So I'm talking to you straight because I want you to understand where I'm going. I want you to understand why you have to elect the UIC. Because if you don't understand this, then they'll fool you again. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, vote JLP because we're going to deliver you into slavery. Power to the rich man while we suppress you. Seriously. And that's a going. Log on to progress, but whose progress? Whose progress did you log on to? You log on to the progress of the PSOJ oligarchs and your own demise. Whose prosperity you log on to? You log on to Andrew and his friend and getting more prosperous. I can tell you this, everybody at the top of the GLP is richer today than you. And they're richer today than they were 7 years ago. So 7 years later, the top man in the GLP, they're richer and you poorer. Yes, and Mark Golden, don't make him fool you because he's a part of the PSOJ oligarchy. Him dead a long time before him enter politics. So don't be fooled by the pretty face and nice talk I want you to understand the trickery. A long time them a trickery, and it worked. 1944, 1945, 1955, 1965, 1975, 1985, 1995, 2005, and it worked in 2020. And it will work again if we allow it. So follow me now. I digress a little bit from my speech here, but 1838 was fake freedom because they never gave you back your land. Nor did they give you back the money with them keys from your parents. Now, come 1944, they gave us another fake. It was a fake democracy. Here's how it works. Because you bundled a few plantations in the 1800s and you chopped up a few people, they said, we'll have to change the system because it's a get out of hand. Then figure out what we're doing to them. We have to change the system. So in 1944, they said, let's give them the right to vote. And your grandmother was cheering for joy. We now have the right to vote. Yeah, she was so happy. She had no idea a fool her again. Where are you going to vote for? Because they're going to pick who you can vote for. They're going to fund who you can vote for. Let me show you. Let's say I give you the right to vote, but I am the big man, I'm the money man. And I grab Winston and say, Winston, you go run. Say a millionaire. Chase, you go run. Say a millionaire. If you win, you know, say a report to me. If you win, you know, say a report to me. So me the big man behind the scene, JLP, PNP, go out there. You are run as an independent. No money for you. Nobody want to hear about you. Forget it. Go one side. So the people will only say Winston and Chase because me with the big money fund both of them. And you go vote, me a PNP, me a vote for Chase. I love the PNP thing. You vote for Chase. Me a JLP, I love the Buster thing. I vote for him. It doesn't matter. Because me control both of them. That's what we call the PSOJ oligarchs. Them control the two parts of them. No matter who you vote for. No matter if your grandmother vote PNP, your grandfather vote PNP, your dog vote PNP. If you vote PNP, you still a vote for the PSOJ oligarch. Your grandfather GLP, your grandmother GLP, your great-grandfather. It doesn't matter. If you vote GLP, you still a vote for the PSOJ oligarch. The big man, them who control the thing, and them you vote for still. It doesn't matter who you vote for. So the UIC now come on the scene and say, listen, let us explain that to the people. Let's help the people to understand that. If the people can understand that, they'll realize they have to rise up now and own their own party. You have to own your own party now. You have to fund your own party. You have to fund your own candidate. And when you take over the system now, you can change it, they can fix it. But if you continue to vote for the two of them, you're going to get the same result. Am I clear? You understand? If you get it, clap me. All right. But I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Okay. So 1944, they gave you the fake democracy. They could feel like the system changed because now you can vote. They used that system for 18 years to train us. What did they train us with? They train us to stop seeing the colonial master as the problem and start to see each other as the problem. So now, you see him as the problem because he's a PNP. And you see him as the problem because he's a JLP. So you stop, look for the real problem and start killing each other. And we kill each other for. If your party win, you get little something. If your party win, you get little something. But the country pop down. You follow me, brother? The country pop down. Because now you're fighting for scarce benefits and spoils. You're fighting for where you were close to the party can get. You're going to get little something, you know. Maybe get a zinc. Maybe get a goat, like Crawford want to give people goat. Maybe get a goat. Some chicken. A bag of cement. A plywood. A sheet of Solitex. And that people have voted for a $5 grand in a t-shirt. That is what people have voted for. A lunch money. They pack your pants stuff in a bus and give you a t-shirt and a cap and an armband and stuff for 6,000 in your hand and you say, yay, for the next 5 years. How many years will $6,000 serve you for? How will that prepare you to be independent? Yeah. How will that make you a man or a woman that can fund your family and take care of your household? It will not. So you become a party animal, tribalist. They will fight down and beat on your brother because him will wear green and you will wear orange. And you will fight him for life now. You follow me? So them tricking. So after 18 years of tricking us into that, because Marcus Garvey, at the beginning in the late 30s, Marcus said, no, we don't want the system. Marcus Garvey said, let's have a system that unites us. Let's have a system that liberates us. Let's have a system that empowers us. That's what Marcus Garvey said. Let's have a system that do that. And guess what they said? No, let's have a system that divides us into two tribes. Let's have a system that teaches us to fight each other every election time to see who wins and get the prize. Let's have a system that doesn't empower us as a people, but empower us as party. And so the UIC have a very different system. Our system is a unifying system. Our system is a liberation system. Our system is an empowering system. But for 18 years, from 1944 to 1962, the white masters, the colonial masters, check out the system and see if it would work. And after 18 years, when they say that it can work, it looked good, it's working just fine, they said, now let's give them independence. That's the next trick. So the first trick was the fake democracy. Let's remember, trick number one, fake what? Freedom. Trick number two, fake what? Democracy. Trick number three now is independence. Bear in mind, they always bring on a trick when the other tricks start to get weak. So when you start to kind of figure out the trick, now our people in 1944 all the way to 62, they never figured out the trick fully, but they saw some problems. The first problem they saw was that under self-governance, the fake democracy, there was still a British governor at the top. Yeah? So a British white man was at the top. So the people said something to right with that. So they said, no, we have to switch out the white man and get him a black governor general. Oh my goodness. Oh, we're so cool. So the people have switched out the white governor and give a black governor general. And we jump for draw. Not changing. They just have a man who is white underneath but black outside and put him, a whitewashed black man, and put him at the front. And so now you have a governor general. Remember that man that they put at the front, he's committed to the white man. He's committed to maintaining a system. So even though I'm black, I'm white. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I'm talking about white people. I'm talking about a system. So the system the Governor General represents is a system of colonialization. It's a system of mental slavery. It's a system of entrapment. It's a system of keeping us subservient. So our Governor General, no matter who it is, whether it's Florizel Gospel or Clifford Campbell or any one of them, they tell you in history and make up all kind of story and tell you a nice story. Forget about the story. The bottom line is this: the Governor General is the embodiment and representation of colonization. And so switch out white dog for black monkey. You follow? Yeah. And so now, watch me now. In 1962, we cheered again. We clap and we roll out the red carpet. And we say, welcome home, Your Royal Highness. And we have them come into our parliament and sit in our parliament at the top. Our leaders were sitting below them. And they gave us the instrument of the Constitution. Now let me ask you a question. Be honest with me. If somebody abducted you, I was going to say rape, but let me point it out. Rape. So somebody abducted you, and somebody raped you, beat you, enslave you, sell you, thief from you. And then when they're done, they say, I'm going to write a document. I must follow this document for the rest of your life. It's good for you. Would you trust that document? What did that we do? From 1962 to now, we have trust the document. And our leaders have fought long and hard to keep the document in place. Can you trust them? Can you trust leaders who have hung on to a document written for us by the people them who thief from we, rape we, beat we, abuse we, enslave we, and those parties have held on to that document and said, this is the best document for Jamaica. My God, may the good Lord have mercy upon our soul. Because I cannot believe the level of stupidity, the level of ignorance, the level of degeneracy, the level of idiocy, the level of disregard for oneself, the level of lack of respect for we the people, for you to have held on to a document like that for as long as you have held on to it. And even today, they might try to keep it still and pretend about they want constitutional reform. They don't want no reform. They don't want no change. They want constitutional trickery. That's what they're trying to do. They want to continue the trick. And so these people, my good friends, these people cannot be trusted. And so in 1962, they gave us a fake independence. Remember, number one, what, 1838? 1944? 1962? And now they want to give us a fake republic too. That's what this is all about. They want to give us a fake republic now, just like they gave us fake freedom, fake democracy, and fake independence. They want to give us a fake republic now. And the UIC said, not the backside, not this time. We are, as we're small enough, we're little but we tell we're not going to sit down and allow them to give Jamaica a fake republic this time. And so I'm calling upon all of you out here, everybody, yard and abroad, let us join hands. Let us pull together. Let us put on the whole armor of who? Let us put on the whole armor of the highest power, the highest being that exists in the world, God the Creator. Let us put on that whole armor and defend and fight for our freedom like Nanny fought for it, like Bogle fought for it, like Sam Shot fought for it, and by God, like Marcus Garvey fought for it. We must not just sit on some like our ignorant forebearers. Your grandmother, your great, they've never known no better. We did illiterate. We couldn't read. We couldn't write. And so them just trick we. But now we can read, now we can write, and now we can reason. So while our parents made a mistake, and a mistake we ever make this time a dumb with dumb if we allow them to do this to it. Because they were ignorant. When our parents were cheering for independence, it's because they never know better. They hear they're raising up the Jamaica flag and lowering the Union Jack. And you see these white people coming off of the plane and them have on them white gloves, and it looks so nice and dainty and pretty, and you cheer and feel good. Fine, that was a mistake. But we cannot make a mistake there again. We cannot afford to make that mistake again. Because this time, the new slavery this time is a digital currency. This is the final frontier of slavery. This way I come at the final frontier of slavery. After this, there is no turning back. Remember, you know, slavery lasted for 400 years without digital currency. Now they have the power in their hands to know where everybody there at every time. They have the power in their hands to know where you buy and from who you buy from. They can say, listen, make him can't buy no further than 1 mile from the yard gate. And if he try to walk a mile, they shut off his money. You can say, make him can't buy from Winston, because Winston, I don't want to boy them. I don't want Winston get the business. So anybody try to buy from Winston, lock off their money. They must dead ground. So if Winston don't come and bow down and worship them system, him lock up. You lock up. And they say, okay, We have another pandemic. We want all of you, don't joke with me this time. I want all of you to take the injection now. I want you to realize how autocratic our leaders were just 2 years ago. I heard our leaders tell people to not get water unless they take the injection. Did you hear that? Suppose they had the power to lock off your money electronically, so you can't buy nothing unless you go and take their injection. Just think about it. Suppose them get the power in them hand, and that is the power they're working for. So the next constitution will give them the power to say them control every aspect of our lives. You can't buy, you can't sell unless they give you permission. You don't own your body, so what they say is medication, and that is it. So if you want to go use a little herb, it says it's against the law to go and use the herb. And if you hear say you use the herb, you want to come and do something to you. You want to lock off your money. You must use herb. You hear me? You must not use any herb. You must not know how to heal yourself naturally. You must depend on their system. Oh, by the way, we now decide you must not eat this anymore. We have not come up with a synthetic form of food that you must eat, and that's the only food that you must eat. And if you get anybody trying to grow anything in their backyard where we don't want them to grow, we're going to cut off your money. Now, if you think I'm joking, just tell me. If you think what I say is me exaggerating, let me know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right now, they tell you you only can take 3,000 out of your account per day, for example, in some places. Or 30,000. If my wife wants to take out money, she has to go 30 at a time and whatever. You can't carry $1 million around with you because you're a criminal if you carry your own money around with you. You are a criminal if you carry your own money around with you. No, you can't have that kind of system. So this is what the UIC is fighting against. We want you to have the freedom to do what you want with your money, to buy what you want. So if you want to be a vegetarian, be a vegetarian. You want to be a meat eater, be a meat eater. You want to grow some chicken in the backyard, grow chicken in the backyard. You want to grow colonel, eat it, grow. You want to grow some weed, you grow it. You want to drink it, smoke it, or eat it, that's your problem then. Just make sure after you eat it or drink it or smoke it, you don't mess with me or anybody else. They don't use force or fraud on anybody. They can eat it, drink it, or smoke it. That's your problem, your decision. So anyway, so we know that the two colonial parties have always erred on the side of the colonial masters. So we can't trust them. We know that, number one. We know that if we allow them to carry out this thing, our life will be at jeopardy. So we have to stop that. We know that Jamaica is now at an inflection point. We're at a breaking point now. I can predict what is going to happen. I'm a prophet. I'm going to prophesy today. I'm going to prophesy. At the next election, the Jamaican people are going to foolishly elect the PNP on the pretext that they must get rid of the JLP. That will be the argument. We have to get rid of the JLP because they're bad, they're wicked, they're horrible. So we need to vote PNP for that to happen. That's what the people are going to say. They're going to believe that lie. And they're going to allow the PSOJ to manipulate the media and hide the UIC from them. Many of them know about the UIC, but they are not willing to be the organ to transmit the knowledge and the message of the UIC. They want it to happen by somebody else. So where's the UIC? Why aren't they on TV? Because they don't want to accept that the TV is a part of the plan. The radio is a part of the plan to hide the UIC from the nation. They want to think that we can work a miracle and cause the TV to carry us on it. And we can work a miracle and cause the radio to carry us on it. We can't do none of that. The only way that message of the UIC spread is by you. When you tell your friend and family and say to them, go watch man on UIC Liberty TV. Forget about TV, Jane. Forget about TVM. Forget about this way. Go to UIC limit and watch it yourself. And you write down notes and go to and say, look, man, the UIC going to give back the land. Look, the UIC going to protect the rights. Look, the UIC going to stop this so-called digital currency from taking away our freedom. You can do that. Nobody can stop you. If we, the people, start talking, it spread like wildfire. Because when bad news are going on, all of it carry it. If tomorrow we hear say, whoever asleep with whoever and they're in a position, everybody tell everybody, quick, quick. You see this? Share. So why we can't share the good news of changing our country ourselves? We don't need TV, we don't need radio, we don't need newspaper. We can do it ourselves. How did Marcus Garvey do it? The Gleaner didn't carry it. The Gleaner cut him down. The Gleaner tell you all bad news about him. How did Marcus Garvey reach 1 million people around the world? By word of mouth. The people believed in themselves and decided to spread the message. The people donated. Marcus Garvey was all crowdfunded. It's we the people, our great-grandparents, they were the ones who gave their $1 and $2 when it had value back then. Now the value now. Yeah, we give you 1,000 and 2,000. You know, so, but back then, that's how they grew. It was called, listen, I just said it in a minute, you heard about crowdfunding. But Marcus Garvey discovered, I invent crowdfunding. Just like how the UIC now invent a new system of governance, and Marcus Garvey invent crowdfunding. To make them fool you, another white man invent crowdfunding. And we, through Marcus Garvey, invented crowdfunding. So we must use it to our advantage. We must use what we invent. You follow me? So, back to my notes. So, I can say this without a doubt, that we are now at the last possible chance of changing Jamaica. If we don't do it now, we're locking our children into a future that we would hate for ourselves. It's time to wake up. It's time to rise up. It's time to stand up. Because if we don't, your kids, my kids, their children will be locked into a future that we don't want for ourselves. So, I want to say a special word to my online friends in the diaspora, Mr. Roman. This is where you get excited too. Because this is now for my friends in the diaspora. This is a special word for you in the diaspora. You know, believe it or not, if it wasn't for the diaspora, many of us are dead for hunger. You know that. Let me tell you how it works. When Miss Jane in the diaspora sent $100 to our sister in a Grace River and say, use it to send little sister to school. And she take that money, is it pay the taxi driver to carry her to school? Is it pay for a pound of flour or bread or a tin of sardine to give her breakfast to go to school, to buy it from your shop? And when she feels sick, I need to have her ears, eyes, or throat, or whatever checked. And the little remittance stuff, and that pay the nurse or the doctor or the psychiatrist. Seriously, if they did not account for that 33% of our GDP, many of us dead for hunger. Now, those people in the diaspora, they're just as Jamaican as me and you. We must leave them out. And we must not allow anybody to denigrate them and talk about your left way and go away. In a business in our politics. Your business in our politics. Because you are seeing many of it.
Here.
And on top of that, think about it. These people in diaspora, they're there because our bad governance pushed them out of this country. There are many persons who would never have become a nurse if they never leave Jamaica and take up the opportunity over there. There are many who would not have become doctors and lawyers because Jamaica was too restrictive for them. Many who would not have become engineers and technicians over there because they went there because our government pushed them out because the market too small. Not because Jamaica too small, you know, but they made the market too small. No, just to be clear, because I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA by profession, and I also studied engineering at UTech before migrating. Jamaica has the capacity to hold 90 million persons. Did you know that? Jamaica, the size of Jamaica can hold 90 million people. Comfortable. So it's not a small country, even though they tell you it's small. Jamaica is 15 times the size of Singapore. 15 times. Singapore is the size of St. Thomas. St. Thomas is the smallest parish in Jamaica. And Singapore has twice the amount of population of us. 2 times. They have 6 million, we have 3 million. Okay? So if you take 6 million and drop it in a 14 parishes, you have 90 million. You understand me? So watch me now. Carefully, watch this now. Singapore, which has 1/15 our size, have an economy which is over 1,000 our size. The economy. They have provided more jobs, more opportunity. They're so rich in Singapore. By the way, Singapore is richer than America. Richer than America. Their GDP is higher than America's GDP per capita. And they're only 1/15 our size. So our problem is not a size problem. Our problem is a leadership problem. Our problem is a governance problem. Our problem is that we don't have leaders who care about developing the nation in our interest. When our leaders run in politics, when you see a Damian Crawford, a Lisa Anna, a Andre Orton, I only wanted to mention the GLP side because that's clear. When you see these young people going into politics and join the party, I can tell you without reservation, is because they see economic opportunity in politics bigger than outside of politics. Because the best way for you to get rich in this country is in politics. Not through the UIC. Because if the UIC wins, the system change, you can't get nothing. The UIC system is not going to allow you to get anything by stealing. But if you join one of these two parties, that's your best ticket to wealth. You will move from not having the house to having a big house. Can't buy a car, you can buy 2 or 3. I'm serious. So, what's that? You can even buy a driver and security. So watch me. The fact, am I out of time? Okay, good. So the key thing is, these guys are committed to the system because the system gives them an opportunity. But I want to complete my thought on the diaspora, Mr. Roman. The UIC wants to give the diaspora the right to vote remotely. Why? Why do I want to give the diaspora the right to vote remotely? The diaspora can vote better than most of them. I tell you what, when they go to vote, it's not because you buy them. You can't buy the diaspora. They have money already. So when they're going to vote, they're going to vote based on issues, based on policies, because you can't buy them with curry gold. You can't buy them with handouts. Okay? So we want to give the diaspora the vote. Every member of the diaspora can vote by absentee ballot when we take over the government and change the system. That's number 1. Number 2, you want to make sure the diaspora members can come back here and run for office without giving up their dual citizenship. Some will say, oh, no, you must prove your loyalty to Jamaica. They've already proven their loyalty to Jamaica. By wanting to come back and serving, and by giving all the money that they've given, they have proven their loyalty. And the loyalty issue is, when they get that piece of citizenship, it is a ticket to their prosperity. Don't ask them to give it up. Don't ask them, don't punish them because we made them economic refugees. Don't tell them to give up their dual citizenship in order to come here and run because you're denying yourself quality individuals. How do we reverse the brain drain if we don't bring them back? Why would a man give up? I'm the only idiot. Why would a man give up in US citizenship and come back here, give it up, to come back to our dog-eat-dog politics, to become poor? When he have certain benefits he has worked for over there and crystallize in the system. Don't force him to do that. Instead, embrace him as equally Jamaican and let him come back now with him knowledge, with him assets, with him investment, and embrace him as part of the entire culture and system. Let us hug up with brother and sister and shun them, and push them away, bring them back. I want the engineer to come back. I want the chemist to come back. I want the psychologist to come back. I want the doctors to come back. I want the nurses to come back, the teachers. We want everybody to come back, but we don't want them to give up nothing for come back. We want them to come back and have them foot over Deso and them foot over Yaso and have the full benefit and help to build up Yaso. That's what we want. Let's build up a country. That's number two. So number one, we want to make sure them can vote. Number two, to run for office. Now we get some bright people running for office. Not because we increase the salary, but because we open the net. So, Mr. Prime Minister, no matter with the trick about the way increase salary to increase the pool. The pool now get the bigger here, sir. You already mash up the country. Let's open the pool to the diaspora. Bring these bright people back now. Make all of the bright people them over there. Some of them already run for office and win in America and Canada and England. Let them come back here so with all that knowledge now and come help us to build this country. That's number two. And number three now, let's make sure they can come back duty free. Don't tell the man to after him buy all them goods and pay him taxes. He must pay more taxes when he come to the border. Let the man come back with all them assets because those assets are going to help us here. They can open a factory when they come back. They can build a new business. If you tax them right up front and take away all of them little money and pressure them coming in, then nobody come. Let's welcome all Jamaicans, my brothers and sisters. Let's open the border fully. If you are Jamaican, you are Jamaican, you are Jamaican. No matter where they're. Israel, come back. China, come back. Africa, come back. England, come back. America, come back. And let's reverse the brain drain in the country. If you agree, you can clap. So, my good friends, now we're going to move to, I know I'm only 1 minute left, right? All right. So now I want you to know what is a real republic. What is a real republic? Because I might give you a fake one. So I want you to know what a real republic is. And you're going to say to them, when they're going to talk about hybrid president, that sounds like something out of an AI magazine. When they talk about a hybrid president, or about ceremonial president, or any other foolishness. We want a real republic, and here's a real republic. First of all, here's a fake republic. A fake republic is anything, a fake republic is anything that is not a real republic. A fake republic is anything that is not a real republic. So I'll give you a few examples of some fake republics. Barbados is a fake republic. I know they just had a big thing and say, we're not a republic. Let me tell you, I regret to break it to you, Barbados is a fake republic, okay? Trinidad is a fake republic. China is definitely a fake republic. The United States of America is the closest thing we came to a true republic, and they too are a fake republic. Why are they a fake republic? For this one basic reason. Follow me carefully. America is a fake republic because they do not have what the UIC is about to give Jamaica. The UIC makes it very clear that a real republic is one where the Constitution unequivocally, completely, and without reservation protects your individual sovereignty. That's the bottom line. So any constitution that does not protect your individual sovereignty is a fake republic. Now let me expand on that. What is individual? It means, you ever hear people talk about a sovereign nation? all the way understand what that means. It means that you must be truly independent. That's all. So no other nation can come and dictate to you what to do with your country. That's all. You're an independent nation. So your nation is sovereign. Now, when you're sovereign, Mr. Neil, when you're sovereign, Mr. Right, nobody can tell you what to do with your life. Nobody can tell you what to do with your freedom. And nobody cannot tell you what to do with your property. I feel that. So your life, your liberty, and your property rights are fully protected by law. No, don't get me wrong. In the current constitution, they mention these things. But then as the chairman said earlier on, later on, they annul it. They said, provided we are okay with it, you're okay. And they always do that. If you go to France, they have a piece in their constitution to take away your rights after telling you have the rights. Go to America, they have a piece to take away your rights after they say they have the rights. But in the UIC constitution, you are absolutely and unequivocally free. Now, some people don't like to hear that because I think that means chaos. I think it means that the sky is going to fall if we give people their freedom. No. When you give a man in freedom, he has maximum potential and he can realize that potential. The only cap on him is this. He is not allowed to use force or fraud to take another man's life, another man's property, or another man's freedom. But other than that, he is free. The law then, the government then, cannot say to you, for example, you can't plant, grow, process, and sell ganja. You follow me? The government now cannot stop you from selling a product you want to sell, provided you're not using force or fraud on anybody, and you don't have to meet their regulation. Now, guess what happened? In the market economy, Mr. Wright might say, I don't want to buy any product that doesn't have a particular label on it. That's his right. Now, the market will say, we don't want any product that doesn't have this label on it. And so even though Mr. Neil wants to sell the product without the label, because the people say they don't want it, they will not buy it. But guess who can't tell them they can't buy Mr. Neil's product? The government. What will that do? I'll give you a little example. Think about it. It means that there's a lady in my community up at she lives in a little district. Old lady. That lady has been selling drops for many years. That's how she sent her kids to school, selling drops. The government tell her she can't do it anymore because she needs to meet certain requirements and standards that she needs to meet. Now, guess what? Before the government, everybody used to buy her drops. And she used to sell her drops. And her kids used to get the money and go to school. And if the government say you can't sell the drops anymore because we have standards that you need to meet. So all the people she used to sell, she can no longer sell them. Now she don't have any money. Now she had 3 grandkids and their parents have gone abroad. And she's raising those kids. First, I send some money to help her. As the boy gets bigger, or 2 boys get bigger, they want things that they couldn't get. And so they turn to a different life. Prior to this kind of law, they would have seen their hardworking grandmother, they would have emulated her, modeled her, and they would have built on watching, teaching them how to survive, how to provide for yourself, and learn from her, not to steal from anybody. So eventually, these 2 young men get to the place where they break the law catches up with them, and one goes to the grave. That's what I'm saying. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't have standards. We must have standards, must have rules. Thank you, sir. But those standards and rules must not rob us of the freedom to produce and sell and share with each other. Let the market decide what it wants. And if the market wants her drops, let the market buy her drops. And if the market wants Mr. Wright's well put together product with all kinds of sophisticated codes on it and everything, fine, that's okay too. And gradually the market will shift in his because I love his product and she will learn to adjust. but do not have government to stamp out our people, push them to the side, and cause criminality to grow and grow and grow. What this government has done, all of them, they've been pushing laws and rules on our people that oftentimes are for very well developed economies. So for example, during the COVID thing, they said stay home and go to school. When many of our homes hardly have electricity, them are TV, don't have internet, if they have it, it's not stable, can't afford the data to stay online continuously, but you're going to just make a law and say, go do that. We need to have government that is sensible, that's aware, that's connected to the people, that understand the problems they have created and overcome it. So the UIC is going to give us a new system of government, one where your government works for you instead of you having to work for it. A government that serves you instead of you having to serve it. A government where you elect your president directly as an executive to lead your government. That executive must be separate from the legislature, so the two can hold each other accountable. Your senators must be elected, not appointed. Your ministers of government must be subject matter expert, not politicians. You just pick up and come up and say, hey, you're going to be security minister, even though you don't know about security. Or you're going to be health minister, even though your doctorate is in something other than medicine. We want ministers who are qualified and competent to serve. And then most importantly, you want a system where it's 100% publicly funded. If you're a poor candidate, you're not disadvantaged by your lack of money. And if you're a rich candidate, you're not advantaged by your plentifulness of having money. You want a system that gives everybody an equal opportunity. If we have that system, it's called a non-partisan constitutional republic. That's what the UIC is giving Jamaica. Thank you very much.
Here.
Thank you, Brother Roman. Thank you to our audience that is joining us online. I see persons who I know, persons who I don't know from all over the world. Greetings, Mr. Grant. It's been a while. I see persons who are eager to hear. So it's called a non-partisan constitutional republic. Remember, I told you earlier that you will hear the name and you're required to remember the name and remember the facets. So when they come to share their vision of a republic, which is a fake one, you will know where to come here. So the takeaway is this: a real republic is one that protects your right to life, liberty, and property equally, where you are a sovereign individual. You're clear on that? That is the simple test of a true republic. So when they come to send you on their republic, ask the question: how will my right to life, liberty, and property be protected? Will it be equal? Who is exempted from these laws or from this constitution? When will the constitution be able to take these rights? And if it can, then you know it's a paper. Now, having said that, a mouthful has been exchanged. But of course, the conversation isn't over. We have spoken to you. Now it's for you to speak to us. When they are online, now ask me, but help me by monitoring the raise hand online. So if you're online, if you're on our Zoom platform, raise your hand for me, please. If you're on YouTube, UIC Liberty TV will take your question. Here with us. We already have a lot of questions on YouTube. And if you're here in the audience, just simply raise your hand. And we will go step by step. And I promise we will give you a lot. Now, can I ask who have the first question for us? Again, on Liberty TV will take your question. On Zoom, please raise your hand in the audience to see it. Do we have a first question?
Have we dropped off on Liberty TV? I'm not seeing are we live on Liberty TV? Looks like I see my girl dropped out from my side. I'm not sure.
Right, so we have a question in the audience. Stand for me, please, sir. Here is the word.
Have to not you guys are here. Give me an option about. I'm thinking that now give me that. No one disclosed to the like. Saying that. Right now, in the system place where the prime minister is going to increase.
Correct.
You are the independent, you are no choice. You are such.
Yes, I plan to.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So the president gave the short answer, but we don't want to give you more than the short answer, so I'm gonna ask people. I'm gonna have to leave you here.
All right, before I go into it, there is actually a system in the constitution where to get rid of the prime minister per se, where the members of parliament, if they feel that the prime minister is no longer worthy to hold the post, then the majority can say to the governor general that we no longer have confidence in the prime minister to be the prime minister. And at this point, the governor general must advise the prime minister. I don't remember which section it is, but we can look at it, that the parliament no longer has confidence in him or her. No, the prime minister has 3 days within which to respond and direct the governor general to dissolve parliament. So based on our constitution, even if the MPs decide that this prime minister is not good for Jamaica, the prime minister has the power through the constitution to dissolve them, tell the governor general dissolve it. All right, now under the UIC's
Before you go to that, here's another aspect, brother, you can advise us on. For that practice to work, would we need to then separate the reliance of the cabinet and the prime minister for postings?
Yes. So we'll go into that too. All right. So we now know that this will not happen because all the MPs they rely on the prime minister to be appointed to cabinet officers. It is the prime minister who has the ultimate authority to choose an MP and put them in the different cabinet offices. In fact, our cabinet is so inflated because you have ministers of such and such. You have ministers without portfolio. You have state ministers. So you have a number of ministers who really not do anything in the cabinet, but they're collectively paid. So you have the ministers without portfolio, state ministers, and all sorts of ministers. No, because the MPs want the extra money because we know they're paid as MPs, plus when they go in the cabinet, they're paid as cabinet members. They want that extra pay and that extra status. So they are unlikely to vote against the prime minister, the one who keeps them there. So we know we're not going to have that scenario happen anyway. But the constitution does say, if by some fantasy does happen or some miracle, that the MPs decide that this man really bad for Jamaica or this woman, because we're talking about the office here, then the prime minister is given the power through the same constitution within 3 days, direct the governor general to dissolve parliament. What that means? That is the prime minister remains unaccountable. No, for the UIC system. And we agree this is foolishness, but this is what we operate under. Now, under the UIC system, for the president and any other member of the Congress, not a parliament, but the Congress, or any member of the executive may be impeached by the result of the people. We can agree on the percentage or by the cabinet members themselves. So the people can move for impeachment, and so can the legislation. Now, when this happens, this must go before the Supreme Court, which will try the case. So it's not something where you go to a jump through a lot of hoops and all of that. The evidence is provided and the Supreme Court takes it up and then the people vote. Retain the Prime Minister or other executive or kick them out. So that's the idea there. So there will be means of impeaching these officials.
Thank you, VP Neil. So the president short answer is yes, Mr. Neil elaborated. Now, on YouTube, we have a question that was asked. What is the ideological principles of the UIC? Before I turn that question over to the president, I must remark that the labels that we hear and see, whether you're a communist, a capitalist, or whatever is your call, these labels were designed to distract and confuse, because a lot of times these labels all speak to the same thing. But most importantly, is the backers of these various, whatever we want to call them, that is important. And a system that weeds that out, that blunts that influence is what is needed. What is the president? What are the ideological principles of the US?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before I even go into the principles, I want to just bring your attention to two things. You've heard of many political ideologies. You've heard of capitalism, socialism, communism, right? But let's think about it. There are really only two isms. Two. Only two. Freedom and slavery. So the system is either trying to enslave you or it respects your freedom. Now, I want to quickly run through the three isms that you're used to. So on the left extreme is communism. This is where the state owns everything. The government owns everything. They call it that it's owned by the common. What is it? By the people. By the people. It says owned by the people, but it's really the government. Now, who controls the government? Some people, right? All the people, some people. So in communism, like China, the government owns everything. So they own the land, they own the machine, they own the people, they own the assets that comes out of the people and the land and the machine. Now, to me, that sounds like slavery, doesn't it? If they go on a slavery plantation, the massa owns everything. He owns the people, he owns the land, he owns the machines, you know. But they nice it up and say the people. So they make it feel good. We the people by own it. Have you ever gone to a community and see a community center which is owned by the people? Anybody? You see a community center, they say it belongs to the people. Now it's broken down, it's dirty, it's unkept, and you can't use it anymore because anything which is owned by everybody is owned by nobody. That's a fact. I'm not asking you, and I'm telling you. Anything which is owned by everybody is owned by nobody. Unless now you have a government that understands this role. Now, communism is where the government owns everything, land, labor, and capital. On the other extreme, they tell us it's capitalism. In capitalism, the individual owns everything, not the government. Now, in the dictionary, they'll tell you private interest owns everything. Now, who is private interest? You, me. But I'd like you to believe that private interest means some evil, wicked men who have money, and we call them evil, wicked capitalists. But on the extreme of communism is where you, the individual, own the land, which the UIC want you to own. You own the labor, which is your own labor, and you own the capital. So I have a hard time with them and their idea about capitalism and communism. Now, in the middle is what they call a mixed economy. What is a mixed economy? A mixed economy, socialism, is where the government doesn't own everything, and you, the individual, doesn't own everything. But somewhere in the middle, the government owns something, and you own something. The government has a unique capacity to tax you as much as it wants, to the extent that it can get votes in the democratic process. Now, our government right now got 21% of all the possible votes. So you're currently being ruled by a government that got 21% of the entire population that could vote. And the opposition party got 16% of the entire population. So right now you're being ruled by the minority. Even if you take the two of them combined, they only account for 37%. So 63% of us have not authenticated this government. Interesting. Now the government in a so-called socialist state is able to decide how much they want to tax you. Now, how much do you pay in taxes? I did the math recently. If you are making $6 billion a year, your tax is approximately 53%. Now, when are you a slave? At what tax level are you a slave? When the government taxes almost 100%, right? So when you're a slave, the government controls your life, your land, your property, and it gives you something back in return. It gives you maybe a day off or a partial day off. It gives you a little bit of food. Maybe it says how much salt mackerel you can get and how much cornmeal you can get. And it allots to you some clothing and so how much food, and it allots to you somewhere to live. Now that's the backer master situation, right? Now, in socialism, the government can decide how much it's going to tax you. It can decide how much freedom it wants to give you. So it can say, I don't want you to have this freedom, so I'll take it away. I find that to be a very dangerous system. Now here's the system that the UIC prescribes. The government's role is first of all to protect your right to your livelihood and property from everybody else. Number two, it is to provide public goods and services. What are those? Anything which you as an individual should not provide, the government should provide it. So for example, you should not provide roads. But the government provides roads because all of us will share the road equally. Should the government provide your food? No, because you must provide your own food. Should it provide your clothing? No, you must work and provide your own clothing. So what government should do is give you an environment that allows you to be your best person. You can maximize your capacity. You can earn and you can learn and you can grow. You can build. Now, because you have been enslaved for so long and deprived for so long, our government must have a social adjustment system. And that system must ensure that because you have been robbed of your land, let's return that land to you. That's not socialism. Your land, your land. It was stolen from your parents, your grandparents, to give it back to you. We know that they have brainwashed us for years, so we have to make sure we help every child get the education, the healthcare, the nutrition, and the housing that they need. And once we get to that, there's some people talking from language here. Once we build back our people to the level that they need to be, you have less government intervention and more you doing what you want to do with your life. But we have to fix the social imbalances created by years of slavery. You follow me? So we must make sure we build the housing stock and give people the housing they need, the nutrition the children need, the education that they need, and the healthcare that they need. But come back up. But once you get up there, it's really your responsibility. So we have dedicated the GCP 100% to fixing those social problems. So you can't call us capitalists, you can't call us socialists, you can't call us communists. We're just pragmatists. We're going to do what is pragmatically necessary to build this country back to where it should be. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have any other reasons or questions online? Let's see a question here. Sir, closer.
Yeah, good day. And good morning.
Yeah.
That
63.
Talk about that.
Okay.
How do you plan to get a big chunk of that? I think UIC needs to hit the ground. I thought a lot of things about UIC.
Yeah.
And then yeah, what I'm talking about. What my concern is, I suggest that you guys need to hit the ground. Like what's park, there might be here. What's park in Nobody plays.
Yes.
Because if somebody going to, a lot of people, they are fed up. And
Okay, they're not hearing the question. I don't know why. Let me try to change this. Speak a little louder now. Let's see.
okay, they are fed up on the care. The private sector of the backup, the PNP.
Okay.
So if somebody going to vote, a lot of people going to vote, and they never heard of the UIC. They don't either check PNP or JLP. You want, when somebody goes to vote, they know who
Right.
UIC.
Absolutely. Let me answer your question. It's a good question. When you spoke to these people, you told them about the UIC, right? Wonderful. So now they know. Now, remember, the UIC does not get $300 million like the other two parties. The other two parties get $300 million. Minimum. It's more than that, you know. But they get $300 million from the PSOJ oligarchs to do exactly what you're saying. They don't have to go to the bus park. What they do, they have their groups in the community that they work through. No, we don't have that. Last year, we got $6 million from you. You gave us $6 million. Now compare, and by the way, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. You gave us before that you gave us 5 million. Before that you gave us 4 million. So every year you're increasing up, right? So you've gone up $1 million every year. But you've done that. No, without you, we can't buy no. We're here right now. Last Friday night, our fundraising director for the Canada diaspora, Mr. Clive Patterson, we're having a meeting in that diaspora group. About 8 or 10 of us were there. And he said to everybody, the UIC is going out on Sunday, they don't have the money. We need to give them some money. Who can help? And one person can give $50. Another person said $50. One person went on this morning or last night and sent $300 US. Another person $100. You saw that, right? The same person sent $300 and $100. And another person 50 and 50. No, that's the way we survive. We don't have any big backers. Because you know why we don't have any big backers? Because the big backers can't ride for we and milk you. If the big backers elect us, they're losing their gravy train. If the PSOJ were to elect us, they're losing their control over government because we're going to remove their control of our government. So you have to donate more. You have to spread the word. So you have to go to the bus park. You have to go to the bus. You have to go down a Mandela Park when you push a juice stand and say, yeah, juice, UIC, juice, UIC. Yes, I mean. And we have to, and my psychiatrist in the back when she has her practice, she talk to them about their mental state and then talk to them about their political affairs. And say, you know what? Check out the UIC. And Miss Jasmine, when she's going about her JP duties, she's doing her JP thing and decide the person. Did you hear about the UIC? And we have to spread it, people. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna try to suggest to you. There is no, what's that? There is no, yes, we have representatives, but we don't have all the representatives. Mr. Wright, Westmoreland, Mr. Neal, St. Mary, Miss Shubak here, Corretto, St. Andrew, Mr. Crawford, St. Manchester, Mr. Arpa, St. Catherine, Mr. Barnett, Kingston. So we have people, we don't have enough people, huh? Trelawney, we have somebody there as a candidate.
Working on something out here.
But the point is, you have to help us to find candidates. You have to help us to spread the word. Okay? Absolutely. If you find somebody, you simply send them to us to go online or call the number. You see the number 293-3812 or 7471. So it's publicized everywhere. You just call the number and say, I want to be a candidate, and we set you through the process. Call the number, we'll walk you through the process. Right? But we have to do it, folks. We have to do it. So this is like a good old days, the Marcus Garvey days. And we have to do it. 1-1 quota. Sorry, no. Next question.
One other dimension to it. I heard it asked on the live this morning. Where are the candidates? What are they doing? I'm a candidate. in St. Mary. And I am a teacher. I teach online, and I'm also a security officer, and I'm studying. So this is what obtains some many of our candidates. We are working people. We are not professional full-time politicians.
We're not career politicians.
Yeah, we're not career politicians.
Like the other guy.
Yes, that's the term. No, so we don't have, our time is limited and our resources are limited, because although we are thankful for the donations that we have received, it is not enough to run the movement and donate to us, the candidates. So, and when we are on the ground, we are not getting the coverage to let people know that we're on the ground. Because even when we communicate with the media, with press releases that the UIC is going here and there, you will never know of it. So, just last week I was in Oracabessa, and we broke my head because as a candidate I'm out there spreading the word, but there is the matter of fear because I don't drive, and with the team there's a matter of refreshment because some of them are people working, but they have the passion. Right. So you have to ensure they're okay. And it's not even a permanent team, it's just a people in the moment so we can go there. Yeah. So these are the issues we face. So the reality is that no candidate will ever, under these circumstances, get the word out. It is the people who know about the UICs, who are supporters, who will help us to get the word out and to use social media face to face to reach the people bit by bit, one by one, until we reach them. And it is we, the supporters, we the members, who need to help get the candidates in. Because even though I'm a candidate, I do my best. There might be other candidates who might be able to do a better job. So even though we have candidates here, that doesn't stop you from suggesting another candidate to take the place and fill up the place of candidates. So we need your help to do it. That's the only way we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Before your follow-up, also to point out that if there isn't a representative in your division or constituency right now, that doesn't stop you from doing what you need to do. The first thing is required is a group of 10. So bring your 10 friends together, or your neighbors, or your church brothers and sisters. We don't discriminate, whether they're Rastafarian or expats. Bring your friends together and form a group of 10 to support the UIC. From that group, introduce the group to the movement. We'll find someone as a liaison for you. Then you'll look in your community to see who is a suitable representative to be the voice of the community. And you speak to that person in the group and say, we're the UIC group and we want you to represent us. We can have you go through the process and you have our support. And from that, you have a candidate, if the person accepts, or we can continue, but let's say that person accepts, he has his first 10 supporters. And then each supporter creates another group. And that's how we can get that word out. So don't say, I don't have any candidate. It's our responsibility to bring those candidates forward. So we have to show we have the interest, because we can't find candidates. You can marshal someone over from Kingston to Germany, just like the other persons do, but we refuse to, because we want our candidates to share the knowledge, intimate knowledge of that constituency, of that division, and be able to address the needs of the people in a coherent and meaningful way. So get together with your prospective candidate, get together in your group, start in your garage, in your basement, on your lawn, wherever. And you just need to talk once a week and say, let's get some flyers from the UIC and let's go to this area. And we will come and support you as well. Before we come to you, Chad, let's take a follow-up from this gentleman.
I was saying, I told this you guys, please, no, there. When are next year? When is the next?
Kind of side.
So it will be good if you guys could touch base. That will be you guys very tough.
Okay, let me one quick thing. Follow me. Let's be very practical here, right? For us to be here today, it means that we're not full-time politicians. We can't be, because you don't pay us to do that. Right? We're not your prime minister. When you see him all over the place, he's being paid to do that. He's being paid by two sources, your tax dollars and the private sector. So they're paying for these guys to go around and fool you. You understand? So when you see us, we're making huge sacrifices. $6 million cannot make it happen, right? So when you hear me talking, some people attack me all the time. I'm like, Mr. Pat is always talking about money. Guys, we get what we pay for. If we don't decide to pay for our government, to pay for our party to win, it can't happen. If 1% of us, 1% of us gave, in Jamaican terms, $1,000, 1,000 Jamaican terms, we have enough money here. If in the diaspora, 1% of the 4 million people gave 25 a month, we have it. I want us to be realistic. Every time we talk about we need to do something, think about the reality of what it means. Let's say you were to do, let's say you were to join now and you're one of us up here. How many places can you go without with no money? How many places can you go without any money to do it? How many can you be all over the parishes? You couldn't do it. So we have to come to our senses and say we must raise the funds. I have done a hell of a job of my own going on UIC Liberty TV night after night to make the call. We each have to get involved. Marcus Garvey could not have done it without the people crowdfunding to make it happen. Let's stop asking for us to do more and ask ourselves, are we doing enough? If everyone here did as much as the hardest working members in the movement, the UIC is doing across Jamaica right now, if every one of us here did that. So I'm asking you to please think about how is it I can step up my game. Don't ask these poor guys to step up anymore. They can't do anymore. I'm being honest with you. I don't want us to leave here with the impression that Mr. Wright can do more. He can't do no more. Mr. Chase he can't do no more. But we can do more. So, Mr. Chairman, I just want us to make sure we do more. Oh, Mr. Harper.
Before Mr. Harper, Mr. Valentine, the hand up first.
Yeah.
Mr. Valentine.
Yeah. Okay.
What happened, you know? What happened from the incident? So, my thing is that you guys need a new policy, right?
Yeah, we see it.
That's not. The UIC needs a new policy, right? You know, to appeal to the youth of Jamaica, all right? A such a chat is so use Jamaica at the base of the UIC to promote to articulate at least right? So we can get the young generation to be a part of the UIC. Right? But that child can be them and very to be
Right, but she can't be the face because she's the treasurer and she's fully utilized. So I'm just telling you upfront, right? But I'm telling you, no, she's fully extended. Yeah.
Our friends, our families,
Yeah.
we do that in space.
Would love that, absolutely.
If there are roadmap for the UIC, so the UIC trajectory, you know, across Jamaica, right? And you roadmap that outlines the different stages, you know, to Jamaica. Yeah.
Yes, well, a strategic plan, yeah. But,
Thank you, Mr. Valentine. All right, so again, the president with a short answer. So several years.
what's that?
The strategic plan.
Yes, it's been written now for
Yeah.
quite a while and rewritten.
So the strategic plan was written to show that roadmap of how we intend to advance, and we have implemented some part of it, not a lot of it, some of them, not most of it, but some areas of it. And the reason why, again, lack of manpower.
Yeah.
Right? The president, when he takes time from his business to do these things, to be on the road or to be engaged in UIC activity, you know, it sets him back, but he doesn't stop from doing that. I'm fully engaged in my full-time employment because I have to think about my 3 kids. wife, etc., and all the other things that have going on personally. Not that I would want to do it. Now, I'm a shy person. I've never been the one to sit here and do this, but I have 3 kids, and I have to think about the future and what I want for the next generation. Having said that, I see the vacancy, so I have to step up to make sure that people can feel that voice and be able to represent the movement and the belief I hold. And the belief I hold. And in doing that, I am here. But by all means, I'm not a full-time politician, but I'll do my best to fill the role until if someone more suitable comes along. But in the meantime, we are following that roadmap. And for youth engagement and involvement, we're trying that. We have tried several things that have not matured, but we continue and we have a new direction we looked at, and we're looking to go through that. While it's a great suggestion for NAICA, people will steer on the treasurer, yes. But to be the leader of that program would be practical based on how extended she is. But definitely her major will help.
But Mr. Chairman, we have to close now because it's really too hot. But I just want to make it very clear to all of us. And one thing, Mr. Harper, I want us to just understand there's no suggestion you can make that we have not heard. If Jamaica was built on suggestions, we'd be the richest country in the world. And this party would be very far advanced. We have many advisors, we have many suggestions, we have many people willing to tell us things. The problem is in the doing. So most of us are not available to do anything, but we're available to advise the movement. The movement has enough advisors. We have all the strategies. Strategy without money is meaningless. You can't move. Let's say you want to go start a business, my dear. You have a beautiful idea, but you can't get a loan. Can you move? Yeah, you can try a little thing, you can try something small, but you can't break out unless you can get the capital you need. Either you're going to put in the sweat equity if you can do it by yourself, but let's say the sweat equity requires 20 people. If the other 20 people don't join and put in the sweat equity, you alone can't do it. I promise you, my friends, we have done everything humanly possible. And I want you all to leave here with this. Without the capital, we cannot do it. I want that to sink in. I don't want us to think that there's any other avenue that the UIC can take, any other trajectory. For the young people, for us to get them together, we need the resources. We get a few together, they start, they filter. You can't get them a place to meet, you can't get them food to eat, you can't help them when they're breaking down. That is why these guys win. That is why the PSOJ gives them $300 million. If they don't get the $300 million, they lose. If the PNP right now is admitted to place in the same position as the UIC with $6 million, and by the way, we don't have $6 million, we spend $6 million. If the PNP tomorrow found themselves with the same level of income as we, like nothing else, they will not win. They cannot win. None of their people are going to move in any of the constituencies that you see there. The buses won't be there, the meetings won't be had, the structure won't be there, the mobilization won't happen, they're going to lose. Whichever party has the most money, is most likely to win. And if the money difference is too wide, let's say that the JLP has 250 million and PNP only have 100 million, they lose. They need to be relatively close to win now on other sophistry. If the UIC has 6 million and the others have 300 million, we lose. The only way we could win is if you make up the difference by your time and energy. So if the volunteer base decided to truly volunteer and just rise up en masse and win out there and do it, great. But if you're thinking that there's any secret formula for the UIC to get things done without us raising serious amount of money, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to lie to you, and I don't want to mislead you. We have to raise the money or raise the energy. So you, Mr. Harper, you're not going to speak. If you raise the energy out of half a tree, things happen. If you raise the energy, or you have to raise the money to bring others to raise the energy. Your turn now. Go ahead.
My concern is the organization outside of the PSOJ, the organization outside of the government, that I think would assist the UIC. One of them is the church. The church is one of the oldest, richest organization in Jamaica and the world. When they have, when a problem that we have with their rally or what you want to call it, association or their meetings, they ask the public openly give to them. He has an organization or leave because we want to turn up because as they, why can't we write letters to churches, pastors?
Go ahead.
What that NGO, they are not government.
Go ahead, Mr. Leonard.
Why can't we write letters to?
Okay, we have to wrap up now.
Alright.
Go ahead, Mr. Leonard.
All right, so we have written letters to the church, but it is an uncomfortable position that many of the churches are supporting the two major parties. Even not, we ask them for support, and the answer is we cannot at this time, or some other thing. Even in the organization of the National Prayer Breakfast, they decided to not invite the UIC, but they invited the other two parties. Although we wrote them that we are here and we are interested, they totally ignored.
And when they're asked, why is it that the UIC is not at the prayer breakfast? Oh, it's an oversight. So 3 years in a row now, they've had an oversight.
Greetings, everyone.
Yes. But let me tell you one final thing as we close on. We have to close now because we are seriously barbecuing everybody in here right now. My final thought on this. I'm going to say something which listen carefully, listen to me. We must be careful that the UIC does not become controlled by any special interest group, be it the church or the PSO church. Now, every time I've spoken to any special interest group, they want the UIC to conform to their ideologies. So, for example, the church would want the UIC to take a position on gays and what's the other one? Abortion and whatever. They want us to take their position. The UIC's position is very clear. We are not here to promote the gays and lesbians. And we're not here to join anybody in fighting them either. Our position is very simple. You have a right to do what you want to do, but the government must not sponsor you. So the government must not get in the business of sponsoring any of these special interest groups. So let them go on what they want to, but not the government. Now, they don't want to hear that. The church wants to hear that we condemn them and we're going to fight them. And the gays and lesbians who also came to us, they want to hear that we're going to stand up for them. And we're saying, no, we're standing up for all Jamaicans. We won't have any special laws for gays and lesbians. We're not going to say we're going to pass laws to protect you. We're going to protect all Jamaicans. So nobody will have the right to beat you up. And they have no right to beat up anybody else. So our laws and policies protect every single Jamaican. And we're never going to be subservient to any special interest group, be it the PSOJ or the church or any other special group. We're here for all Jamaicans, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We're not here for Christians only. We're not here for Muslims. We're not here for Hindus. We're not here for any special religious group. We're here for all Jamaicans. So you have the right to worship as you please. You have the right to live as you please, as long as you do not use force or fraud against anybody. And so the church may not like that, Mr. Harper. I'm going to say thank you very much. We are here to protect the church's right, as we're here to protect the atheists' right, as we're here to protect the Muslims' right. Whoever you are, your right to worship, your right to choose is your right. And as long as you can appreciate that, we can work with you. I have to go now, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, we ask you to come to the microphone and give us your vote of thanks.
Man, that is a lot. Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed. And I just want to thank you. First of all, I was taking some notes here, and I hope you don't mind the notes I was taking. And just to kind of talk a little bit about something that is on my mind. But before I do that, I want to take this special time to thank the organizers of this event. starting from our president. And the thing about it is that nobody usually say thanks to our president and his dear wife, because it all starts with you guys. The sacrifices that you guys make, you know, just look at what the UIC is about. And it's something that you guys have put together. You've gone through all of the, you know, the special, you have thought it through so diligently. And we just want to thank you. Again, I just want to thank Dr. Johnson, Dr. Coretta, for her presentation. It was just so on point, and it was from the perspective of you know, the psychologist in her area of expertise. And I myself, being in the medical profession, I just appreciate that, because that is something that is always so important. And there are some points that she touched here that I just want to kind of touch on. But before I do that, I want to thank our chairman, Sir Winston, and coming through with this event at such a short notice, and have put together such a great, you know, team to get this going. Chase, oh my God, he's always there, and now he has a responsibility again of the GenSec, and we appreciate that in stepping forward to take on that, in spite of, and all of you, in spite of your commitments to your family and your jobs. I mean, this is something that people have to really appreciate, because you take time out of this, you don't get paid for anything, it's all voluntarily. And we're volunteering, we're sacrificing for our country. And we just want to show you how much we appreciate that. Our vice presidents and the members of the NEC, all of these people came together to get this event, you know, going, and the success that this event has been is just remarkable, because we're noticing that as we move on from one event to another, we're getting stronger and stronger. And we're here to support you, and we just appreciate that. Now, couple of things that Dr. Johnson talked about, and I would have been remiss if I never mentioned about it, is some of the challenges that we have in Jamaica. And I call them challenges because she talked about the pathology and something that is embedded in our genes, the fixed belief that people have. And she talked a little bit about the DNR, do not respond or do not resuscitate, in the sense that people kind of get to the belief that, oh my God, we're at that point where we're not resuscitate, we're not able, won't be able to resuscitate the thought processes. And again, Mr. Patterson, I want to tell you that your words over the years will not go void or will not go in vain. You know what I mean? I just want to assure you that. The other thing too, there are certain things that Jamaicans, there are certain myths that I call unwritten rules that the post-traumatic colonial stress disorder has left on us in Jamaica, not only in Jamaica, but in the diaspora also. And I just want to go through these real quickly. And these are unwritten rules or unwritten codes or unwritten understandings. And I call them flatly false narratives. In other words, bluntly, lies that the people are forced to believe. And one of them is that people who migrate from Jamaica are traitors. No, we are not traitors. Most 90% of us are economic refugees. The other thing too is that people back in Jamaica, the people here believe, these are some unwritten lies, that the people back home in Jamaica are untrustworthy, they are crooked, they are criminals, they are corrupt. And these are just flat, outright lies that people need to put behind them. The other thing too is that they also believe that Jamaicans back home are idiots and they are low IQ. And guess what? A lot of the people in the diaspora are thought to believe those lies, and those are just like. There's also the lie that no third party can survive in Jamaica. That is also a blatant lie. And no system of government can unite us. take a real look at what the UIC put together and how much it's all about uniting Jamaica. It doesn't matter. We all should be die-hearted Jamaicans, not die-hearted JLP or PNP, or even die-hearted UIC, but die-hearted Jamaicans. The other thing too, that so they believe that our problems can only be solved by somebody from abroad, somebody on a white coat or in a white collar fly in from abroad to solve the problem. Guess what? We all can solve our problems right there. Okay. The other thing that they also believe is that we can't unite at home and abroad. Oh my God, we're doing it whether we want to or not, because we are funding the survival of the nation. You know what I mean? So we have to learn to unite. And also another thing too that I just want to bring to the attention of all uniters is that the UIC is against small business support. No, we're not. The UIC hold a small business. I'm a small business person, and we hold the UIC, we hold small business people, community at home and abroad, very close to our hearts. And what I was proposing, which is I have not made this proposal to the NEC yet, or our president, but I'm putting it out there in the public to get what they think. I think what the small businesses can do, or what the local representative can do, is go around to the small businesses and tell them about the UIC, teach them about the UIC, show them what the UIC stands for, and invite them to contribute not only financially, but in kind. For example, whenever the UIC is having these events, they can provide water, they can provide things like that, you know, without strings attached. The UIC don't believe in any strings. And that's just a proposal, Mr. Patterson. So if they can go ahead and tell them, listen, this is for us, the country, the people, all of us. And guess what? I just want to thank you again. Thank everybody for coming. And I hope I did not bore you guys. I am still as hyper about the UIC as I was 2 years ago when I first joined. God bless you all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, despite the increased humidity because of the amount of bodies in the room, we do appreciate your attention, we do appreciate your time. Viewers, supporters, members online, we do appreciate you staying with us. We know Sundays are your downtime. For everyone, it's your quiet time, it's your time to get away. We do appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Thank you. We'll speak soon. Good night. See you at the next event.
All the best.
Remember, like, share, subscribe across all social media channels. Spread the word.
Awesome. Awesome.